Welcome to Movie Speeching. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take good care. Hunt is the name of the movie. Please like and subscribe to get every update. In 1983, a group of demonstrators stood in front of the Glade Hotel in Washington, D.C., demanding that the South Korean president be removed from office and tried on charges of dictatorship. An operation led by Foreign Intelligence Director Byung-ho and Domestic Intelligence Director Cheon-do is underway to protect the president from danger, but they are unable to quell the protests because they do not have permission. Reporter Kang also comes there and wants to be interviewed, so Byung-ho's assistant Ju-kyung takes him to distract him. Meanwhile, Director of Intelligence meets with the CIA's East Asia director, who blames the South Korean president for the chaos outside, but Director of Intelligence defends the leader's responsibility for the constitutional amendment. Just then, CIA agents receive information about the presence of a sniper hiding in a theater across the street looking to kill the president. The car carrying the president was quickly stopped, and agents entered the theater to pursue the sniper, who had already fled. A chase began within the theater, with both sides firing, resulting in the loss of many agents. Byung-ho is also injured when the sniper throws a grenade, but it is not enough to stop him, so he follows the sniper and jumps on top of him to fight, but ends up becoming the sniper's hostage. Byung-ho wants the other investigators to capture this man alive, but Young-do steps forward and kills the sniper, blaming Byung-ho for the outcome because he was captured. In South Korea, demonstrators occupy the streets, and police use tear gas and violence when they try to stop them. The demonstrators try to hide in a nearby building, and most of them start locking their doors, but Byung-ho's disciple Yoo-young wants to help and opens the gate, allowing people to come inside. Unfortunately, the plan goes awry and everyone is arrested anyway. When Byung-ho returns home and finds out what happened, he calls the police and uses his power to release Yoo-young. He then goes to pick her up and notices that she has brought her group of young protesters to feed her. Byung-ho objects to her continued company, but Yoo-young doesn't care, so Byung-ho leaves the money for her expenses and walks away angrily. The next day, Director calls Byung-ho and Young-do to discuss the next mission. The president is angry because he was unable to find out who was behind the incident. Now they must work together to find answers. The main suspect is Professor Shin of the Washington delegation, whom they believe to be Dong-rim, the leader of North Korea's intelligence unit. Mr. Un then shows the president's itinerary for his visit to Japan, which both representatives must sign. Afterwards, Jong-do strongly interrogates Professor Shin, but Professor Shin declares that he is not a spy. Meanwhile, a mysterious man on a bicycle picks up a shirt from the dry cleaners and uses a special code to read the information sewn into his seams. In this way, the real Dong-rim was secretly transmitting information from inside his house. That night, Young-do invites Byung-ho to his apartment for dinner, but things get awkward when Byung-ho's wife says that while she thought the two were close friends, she had little conflict. In fact, in a previous mission, Chong-do interrogated Byung-ho so harshly that Byung-ho was unable to move his hands for a long time. Later, Byung-ho receives an emergency call with important information. North Korea and Japan are in informal talks about colonial reparations, and a high-ranking official named Professor Pyo has requested asylum. Prizes include reactor plans, research and development files, and a list of researchers. Byung-ho immediately orders them to search for the man before Japan and Dong-rim. Sometime later, the agent contacts Pyo and asks for protection for him and his family in exchange for information about the real Dong-rim. At first, he doesn't want to reveal anything on the phone because he knows that Dong-rim is working as a spy for a government agency, but then he decides to reveal some information to prove himself. Decided on, information that Special Forces 417 plans to infiltrate North Korea to collect nuclear weapons. The agents try to stop the squad from arriving, but it is too late. The information has already been filtered, and the squad is killed. This proves that there is indeed a mole in this institution. Later, in Tokyo, the agents keep an eye on Professor Pyo, who has a suitcase containing all the information they need. It turns out that Byung-ho is surrounded by North Korean agents, so Byung-ho orders Agent Yang to watch over Pyo's family while he tracks down Pyo. Yang's top priority is to obtain information about Dong-rim, and he believes that he can be promoted if he does so. He follows Director On's secret orders and goes after Pyo, ignoring orders. While Pyonho saves Pyo's family, Yang Pyo asks for information on Dong-rim's identity or he won't save him. Pyo tells Dong-rim the date and place where he met with Director Lee. Agents simply need to match this information with their flight records. Yang allowed Pyo to get into his car and drove away as North Korean agents spotted him and opened fire. The enemy managed to pull Mr. Pyo out of the car and killed him. Both authorities then met in the middle of the road and a fierce gunfight ensued. Byung-ho learns that Yang and Pyo have wandered into the scene. He throws Pyo's family out of the van and drives back to rescue his men and take them to safety, even though Yang is in a coma. A few days later, Byung-ho returns to the government building and is reprimanded by Director On for failing in all of his operations. Byung-ho reminds On that he lost his unit due to his poor judgment and Yang's reaction to contradictory orders. He also revealed that he knew and had proof that Mr. On had accepted accepted bribes. Mr. On attempts to attack Mr. Byung-ho to silence him, but Mr. Byung-ho does not hesitate to punch him and demand his resignation. He says otherwise he will go to the president with this information. That night, Byung-ho finds Yu-young playing with the protesters again and has to save her as her boys start a political argument. Byung-ho scolds her again for keeping her company, and Yu-young replies that it doesn't feel good to work for a corrupt government agency. Seeing this, Byung-ho remembers losing his partner to gunfire during a mission 3 years ago. Before his death, the man confesses that his true mission was to take care of Yu-young, and then during the funeral, a girl appears and calls the dead agent Dad. Since then, Byung-ho has been keeping an eye on Yu-young. A few days later, a new director took over the agency and announced a special reward for anyone who could obtain information about North Korean spies to avoid further ruining the program. The interrogation at the prison becomes more violent, but Young-do feels helpless. When he returns home, he can't help but have nightmares about his time in the army and the violence he had to spread during that time. The next day, the new director talks with Jong-do and receives permission from the president to interrogate the investigators to find the mole. With the information pointing in that direction, Jong-do immediately begins interrogating all foreign agents, and when Byung-ho finds out, he shows up to stop things. He trusts all of these men and refuses to allow his unit to be treated this way. This starts an argument between him and Jong-do, but it is suddenly interrupted by an urgent message. North Korean fighter jets enter South Korean airspace. The pilot was captured without incident, but was shocked to learn that this man knew everything about missiles and air defense systems. He is taken to a government agency where, after a lot of chatting, complaining about the government, and having his gun pulled out, the pilot finally uses it to secretly pass information to them about Russia. Showed the latest code. With this code you can catch up with the mole. The secretary sets up a 48-hour code 3 to catch the mole, and Pyong-ho orders his subordinates to be the first to get any new information, just in case. With entire government agencies working on the code, the information it provides can be very useful and can help you find caches of secret weapons. Ju-kyung brings information to Byung-ho about an accident involving a large amount of money that was not reported by the police. Jong-do attempts to send the suspect to Byung-ho's unit, but he never arrives. The money was supposed to go to a military contractor called Jupiter Go. When information about the president's next visit, which is supposed to be top secret, ends up in the wrong hands, Ju-kyung visits Jupiter Corporation to search for clues. The authorities continue to analyze the code and discover information about a man named Bodhan, responsible for collecting shirts with coded stitches. Jong-do and his men follow Bo-sang into the laundry and ambush him, but Bo-sang is aware they are there and another gunfight ensues. Realizing he is surrounded, Bodhan throws a grenade to blow up the building and secretly escapes. He then met with the woman and gave her an envelope containing the president's itinerary. The woman then uses another code to send this information to North Korea. After some time, Ju-kyung tells Byung-ho that Jupiter's military transactions have increased by 600% in 2 years and that Jong-do has close ties to the organization. To make matters worse, the investigation into Cheon-do's mole is expanding and she hopes to interrogate Byung-ho soon. Byung-ho and his men focus on Jupiter for now, searching the company for embezzlement to confirm that the CEO is an old military friend of Young-do. Speaking of Mr. Kondo, he was informed that the Japan summit meeting was cancelled due to the laundry accident, but the president's trip to Asia will continue. The reason why the enemy knew about the Japanese summit was because the mole was a very high-ranking officer, and when Jong-do learned that Byung-ho had dug him out, he sent his subordinates to monitor him 24 hours a day. After a while, when the enemy learns that the president's summit meeting with Japan has been cancelled, Byung-ho has a favor to ask and meets Yu-young for dinner. He uses her powers to free her. Byung-ho didn't like that he was called and left without helping the girl. Yu-young is left alone and is at risk of being arrested by Jong-do's men. At her agency, Jong-do and his men interrogate Yu-young with their usual violence, repeatedly bringing up the fact that Yu-young is a North Korean who entered South Korea under her new name. Although her photo remains near the North Korean Workers' Party's special facility where spies like Bosong are trained, there is no evidence that her deceased agent was her father. The interrogation is abruptly interrupted by Byung-ho, angry at the investigation and the arrest of his disciple. Young-do responds by showing him the photographic evidence. Byung-ho realizes that he is cornered and pretends to be angry at Yu-young for lying, but when he turned around, he told the girl to play with him until he found a way to save her. On the way home, Byung-ho realizes how much they are hurting the man for information, and in frustration, he punches the agent. After some time, Agent Yang finally wakes up and says that Dong-rim has met Chief Lee, and Jong-do immediately sends Dong-rim to a new room with increased security. Pyong-ho and Young-do's teams compete to see who can arrive first, and as they fight in the hallway, a sniper shoots Yang dead in his sleep. Investigators heard the gunshots and opened fire on the sniper, but the man escaped easily. Yang's daughter chooses this moment to go see her father, but faints when she sees the corpse. During Yang's funeral, Jong-do Jang-do learns that the North Korean Workers' Party strategic unit chief mentioned by Lee Yong is 35 years old and has their flight records, which he only needs to compare with the agent's flight records. Find Mol-ju. He tells Pyong-ho that former director On was kicked out because he did not support the president's coup, but is now under house arrest after receiving Jupiter funds. Jang-do is the only one who has visited him so far. Afterwards, the new director instructs Byung-ho and Cheon-do to hurry up and complete the investigation before the president's expedition. Otherwise, there will be serious consequences. As they leave the director's office, the operatives begin arguing about each other's suspicions. He thinks Jang-do thinks Pyong-ho is Dong-rim, and Pyong-ho thinks Jang-do is a spy investor. They get into a fistfight, which results in him falling down the stairs. Just interrupt because people are watching. Jang-do then has to deal with memories that surface of what he did as a soldier in the army, but they resurface because everyone keeps mentioning his army comrades from Jupiter. This massacre was ordered by the current president. Jang-do then meets with the CIA's East Asia director, who already knows about Operation Hunt Peter, so he asks Jang-do to drop his investigation and move to the United States. Meanwhile, Ju-kyung is unaware that Jang, one of Jang-do's men, is still following her, and she brings new information to Byung-ho's house. Ju-kyung obtains a recording of the conversation between Young-do and director On. From there, it is revealed that Jang-do collaborates with Jupiter to start a revolution because he hates the president for what he did to the military and the suffering he caused to the people. Operation Hunt Peter aims to kill the president. Jang-do is always behind it. However, Ju-kyung is still confused because Jung-do's travel procedures do not match Mole's travel procedures. She checks the log again and is shocked to discover that the Mole known as Dong-rim is actually Byung-ho. Now that she knows the truth, Byung-ho chases her and after missing a few shots, manages to defeat her. Byung-ho then uses a special phone to contact the informant. Returning to centrism, he rejected the advances of the CIA director and refused to support a president who would kill even young children. On the way out of the restaurant, Jang receives a call confirming that Byung-ho is Dong-rim and that he killed Ju-kyung. Now he is leaving to hold a secret meeting. Jang-do orders his agents to follow him until he sends reinforcements. Sometime later, Byung-ho met with the informant and handed him the president's revised itinerary. When Byung-ho leaves after the meeting, Chan follows, but before he can be arrested, the two are ambushed and defeated by a group of mysterious men. When Byung-ho wakes up, he thinks he may have been captured because he is constantly being hurt by Cheon-do's men to get information. However, after killing Mr. Jang to get him to talk, it is revealed that they are people working with the North Korean Ministry of Defense, including Bo-san and the woman who sent the message. It turns out that Mr. Byung-ho was working with a group that wanted a peaceful revolution, but there was internal conflict and those in charge now want all-out war. Byung-ho's new mission is to stay during the president's visit and give the sniper a chance to kill him, but Byung-ho refuses, not wanting to bring war and misery to the country. The woman beats Byung-ho for disobedience and is about to kill him when Young-do and his men suddenly drive into the room and open fire on the enemy, narrowly saving Byung-ho. The woman begins to burn her papers before her death, and when Chong-do approaches to save her, she realizes that Byung-ho is assuring a peaceful revolution as Dong-rim. After all, they both want the same thing. It means that the people no longer have to suffer. Pyong-ho is surprised, but Jang-do burns the newspaper instead of saving it. He tells his men that Jang is Dong-rim and is now dead. In return, he asks Byung-ho to help rescue those captured on Jupiter. A few minutes later, Jang-do visits a friend in the military who is undergoing a violent interrogation and pretends to be there to ask him a few questions, but his friend's answers make him realize that there is something he wants to finish. Understand that the information is being conveyed in code. Yourself. Jang-do respects his wishes and pretends to make him talk, then electrocutes him and kills him. Later, Jang-do meets with his other military friends who were part of Operation Hunt Peter and tells them that he will leave the assassination of the president to North Korea. The group does not like to work with them, but Jang-do reminds them that they must do what is necessary to prevent more people from suffering. Meanwhile, Byung-ho finally frees Yu-young and gives her money so she can escape to the south. She was in a safe place while waiting for him. A few days later, North Korean soldiers prepare to invade Bangkok. Byung-ho and Jang-do join the president's entourage, and Byung-ho worries about the war that will break out after the president's murder, but Jang-do reminds Byung-ho that peace has never brought change. Suddenly, a car carrying the ambassador approaches and the agent has to run and make a fuss to stop the car from entering. Otherwise, the sniper will think it's the president and kill the wrong person. After a while, when the president finally arrives, reporter Kang approaches Byung-ho, congratulating him on a job well done and revealing that he is a North Korean spy. Byung-ho snatches the gun from the guard and shoots Kang dead on the spot. Then, realizing how far the North Koreans were willing to go, he decided to run outside and stop the president's car to let everyone know there there was a sniper in the trees. When Byung-ho and other soldiers begin a firefight with the North Korean team, the new director attempts to instruct Jong-do to protect the president, but Jong-do responds by killing the president. He then tries to chase the president, but his shots are blocked by the protective glass, and when he finally manages to break the glass, Byung-ho pushes him away. The president's car starts and Jong-do tries to chase after him. Also, a soldier lands on the president's car, but before he can do anything, Byung-ho shoots him dead. Jong-do rams his car into the president's car, stops him, drags him out, and kills him in front of everyone. However, before he can pull the trigger, Kang reveals himself to be still alive and activates the bomb he brought with him, detonating the entire area. Byung-ho loses consciousness for a few seconds, and when he wakes up, he realizes that the president is fine and has been taken away. She hears Jong-do's voice calling her, and when she goes to check on him, she finds Jong-do with a large wound in his chest. Byung-ho tries to hide his wound with his hands, but Jong-do wonders why Byung-ho ruined the surgery and dies anyway. Upon returning to Korea, Byung-ho orders his men to release Jong-do's family, who were arrested on suspicion of helping Jong-do. Pyong-ho also sends his wife Cheon-do's military tag and watches as she understands its meaning and breaks down in tears. Afterwards, Byung-ho heads south to reunite with Yoo-young, but Jong-do points a gun at Yoo-young, saying that she was right and that she was a spy all along. But Yoo-young didn't dare to pull the trigger on the man who cared for her, so another spy had to come and do her job. When Yoo-young approaches to say her goodbye, Byung-ho gives Yoo-young a new passport so she can escape and live a better life before her death. Yoo-young opens her passport and she begins to cry when she realizes that Byung-ho gave her her last name. Thank you for watching. See you on the next video.